Welcome to Securing Your Brand. Join us as we explore trademarks, copyrights, and intellectual property to ensure the protection of your creative assets.
Hello and welcome to Securing Your Brand, the podcast that helps you protect what matters most, your business, your name, and your brand. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're joined by two legal eagles in trademark law, attorneys Holly McFall and Melissa Jeda from Secure Mark Legal. In this episode, we're tackling a crucial question. What should you ask before hiring a trademark lawyer? Whether you're a startup, a growing business, or someone looking to protect your brand, choosing the right legal partner can make all the difference. Holly and Melissa will walk us through the essential questions you should ask, the red flags you should watch out for, and how to ensure you're getting the best protection for your intellectual property. Melissa, Holly, great to see you guys again.
Great to be here.
All right, so this legal process, you can represent yourself. You know, you can do all this stuff yourself, but you might want to hire a lawyer to make sure that you're doing everything right. So tell us a little bit about what you think people should look for when they decide, hey, I'm going to hire a lawyer. What should they look for?
Well, one very basic thing to start with is, are you actually hiring a lawyer, or are you really just hiring a firm that has a lawyer as in the title and that is never really around, that you're never going to interact with, and you'll mostly be interacting with paralegals or even, just basically secretarial level personnel. And that's a very common thing, actually, with a lot of the companies that are much lower cost. They advertise themselves as a law firm. And while they may be, and like I said, there may be a lawyer around there in the background somewhere, a lot of people never interact with that lawyer at all, or possibly later on in the process, if there is an office action or something, a legal issue comes up that's complicated, that would then cost you more money, by the way. But until you get to that point, a lot of times you're just talking to a paralegal. So paralegals or even non-paralegals can't give legal advice. So basically all they would be doing is copying the information that you give them onto the trademark application form and submitting it, something that you could do yourself. So making sure that you'll actually have advice from a lawyer is number one in my book.
Yeah, I think making sure you're speaking with a lawyer should be number one. It is a legal process. You are seeking a legal opinion. You want to know and you want to understand the risks associated with filing the trademark. It may not just be filing a trademark application. When we file our trademark application, we're putting out this information into the public. We're putting out this information that's available for maybe a competitor or maybe someone that already owns that brand, and you're actually infringing. And by filing the application, you're going to end up with a cease and desist letter or declaratory action to tell you to go ahead and stop using that brand. So you want to make sure that you're hiring a lawyer. And I think the next thing is that you want to make sure that they're going to run that comprehensive search, that they're going to search and make sure that you may be able to own that brand, that there's not an existing brand out there that's using that trademark, using that logo, or whatever else it may be to represent their brand, and that there's an ability for you to own the brand for the services or goods that you're selling or providing.
And understand that a comprehensive search does not mean a Google search. We think of Google as being very comprehensive. We think that when we put something in the Google search form, we are checking the World Wide Web and we're checking everything that's out there. But no, very much not. If you notice on the search results of any Google search, that goes on pages and pages and pages upon pages. Most people only go to through the first page, maybe the second, but there's much more out there. So a comprehensive trademark search, we have our own special database for that, that's specifically looking at brand names and things that are out there in regard to a trademark and a business brand. So we don't have all of that extra noise, that just a Google search will have. We're more specified, but also what the information in that database is much more accurate and comprehensive than what would be found in just a simple Google search.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that, about the search too, because I know that, I've done that search before on the USPTO website, and it's pretty expansive. Like, you find a lot of stuff in there. Is there anything that if you hire a professional, obviously a professional knows more than I do about this stuff, are they doing deeper dives than I'm capable of, or are they using the same systems, they just know it better and can probably do a more thorough search?
It's actually a bit of both. Looking at tests, which is the trademark search engine through the USPTO. When we run a search through tests, we're not just looking at, let's use our name. We're not just looking at secure mark legal. We're looking at secured spelled every single way that you could, with an S, with a C, with a Z, anything else in between, the vowels in all forms, whether it's secure mark is one word, whether it's two words, there's a dash, there's a hyphen, there's an asterisk, whatever it may be. When we run a search, we're trying to find what I call the fuzzy. We're looking through everything that may sound the same, even if it's not spelled the same or look the same. Is that going to be confusingly similar to an existing brand out there? So when we want to search through tests, we're really doing it in a way in which we can go ahead and make sure that we're finding every result that can possibly be found.
And those searches aren't always just as simple as putting in the one or two or three words of your brand name.
Right.
There are all kinds of little algorithms and strange ways that we have to type it in that are not intuitive at all. It takes a lot to just learn how to input the information in the first place into that test form.
It's the same way the USPTO is going to search. We're using the same format, the same ways in which the USPTO is going to be looking at it. So we know that they have an examining attorney. You may want to have one that's going to assess your risk also.
Are there situations where a company might have a priority of using the name first, even if they haven't officially trademarked it yet?
Sure. That would be called common law trademark rights. Just using a brand name in commerce gives you a certain level, limited level of trademark protection. It'll usually be limited to the geographical area in which you're using the brand. It's always going to be limited to the goods and services that you're providing, what class and industry you're in.
That determination of priority and that determination of can you go ahead and still get a federal trademark if they're local and it can be limited, can you still qualify for a federal trademark? And that's, again, another legal question that you want to make sure you're asking an attorney, not asking a paralegal or someone that's just inputting data.
Yeah, so you made a comment earlier about, I think you said the mills or the mill type of trademark companies. Like, what can you describe a little bit more about what those are and what they do and maybe what they don't do?
A lot of them are low cost services. They're going to charge you just almost like the processing fee. And then once they go ahead and you fill out their questionnaire and you put in your information and you fill out the rest of the data, they're just going to fill that into the form. Like Holly said, it's something that you could do your own. Just fill out the form. It's available. You don't need legal representation. You can go ahead and fill out your own trademark application. And that's basically what they're doing, but charging you a fee. And then when there is a problem, will they still be there? Are you now going to be scrambling and looking for an attorney that can help you when you receive an office action and their problem has come up, or you've received a cease and desist letter? Do you have an attorney that already knows your file, already knows what you've gone through, understands your data, understands what your business is, that can represent you? And if not, if they can't represent you, now you got to go search for somebody. And if they can represent you, what are their charges going to be? It's another thing you want to ask them. What happens if I get an office action? What happens if I get an opposition to my trademark? How does that work, and how does your firm handle these, and what are the costs?
And keeping in mind too that if you do have to go and hire another attorney, it's almost always more expensive for an attorney to take over an existing case than to start it from the very beginning. Yeah, not only fixing the errors that we might find, but just advising in general. It's hard to rewind the clock sometimes. Right. Just the filing of the application in and of itself, period, could have been a mistake. And we can't, unring that bell of the filing.
The determination, we've talked a lot about the goods, the classes, the services and the description of those classes and those categories that you fall into. That also can be a legal determination. We've talked about the fact that you could fall into multiple classes, multiple categories. If you're selling online, if you're a physical opposed to a virtual product, think of like an ebook. Are you the publisher of an ebook? Are you go ahead and selling the ebook? Is it downloadable? Is it not downloadable? All of those are 4 different classes, and making that determination, and then how those goods, or then sometimes it's considered a service if it's a publication, are described, and whether that description is going to end up with a problem. Additionally, with the new fee for insufficient information, you may end up having to pay more money if the class or the goods or the description is improper, if it can be changed.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too, because last episode we talked about the changes that have recently come down from the USPTO, and I suppose a good litmus test might be how well a trademark lawyer might know that stuff to figure out if they're actually, doing their job properly.
Yeah, if they're checking to make, if you're checking to make sure that lawyer understands the new processes, the new application, the new fees that may be associated with it, how they intend to not lessen the risk for the fees and fines, but how they intend to make sure everything is described properly and everything is listed properly. So you're not getting an insufficient information fee they're not calling it a fine, but a fee. So that way, is it, and it's per class. So it's not a lot of money, $100. I mean, to a startup, to a new enterprise, that could be, and plus the additional attorney's fees to spend the time to file a response to the office action and pay the fee. So yeah, it can add up quickly.
That's up, yeah. So the USPTO examiner, they're going to do a legal analysis of a trademark. I mean, I imagine that the USPTO has their lawyers on their side to make sure that everything is legal and done properly and all that stuff. I mean, how difficult is it for somebody to try to handle this on their own? Because if you do have any sort of issues, I feel like unless you really know what you're doing, you're kind of just like throwing things at the wall and hope it sticks, right?
Sometimes, yes. And to be quite frank, sometimes no. There are times when pro se filers are successful. Maybe they just got lucky, or maybe they, were able to do enough research.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you can just get lucky that perhaps your industry, this particular class you're in, is not a very crowded one, or there just happens to not be any conflicting marks in it. And you just didn't miss anything. That can absolutely happen. But, the opposite happens probably, more often than the former.
Holly, we've seen some changes with AI and with the processors, or with what we call the trademark mills, using AI to fill out applications. And I feel like that should be another question that people should be asking as, technology changes. Are they doing a legal analysis when they fill out the application? Or they, is a lawyer reviewing it and going through it? But also, not only that, how much AI that they're using for that application process.
Right. And to realize that AI isn't always accurate. AI has been known to just make things up. So if the firm or, office that they're hiring is going to rely too much on AI, that can certainly be an issue if they're not going to do their own research and double check things.
Yeah, that goes into the application phase, and also goes into like the office action. When you're writing a response to an office action, we know that, I don't know, I can't think of a case directly out of the USPTO, but I can definitely think of court cases where the judge was not so happy about, having AI cited, and that case didn't even really exist. So asking how much AI plays into their filing of the application and their response to office action or any legal proceedings, and, talking about their use of AI is something that I think consumers need to do more and more when they're hiring a professional.
Yes, and with the USPTO coming out and saying that they're focusing more on AI, we have to think, or just presume that they'll be using AI tools in their review process, kind of similar to when a student writes an essay, in high school or college or something, and the professors almost routinely now, I think, run those through AI checks and plagiarism checks and things like that. The USPTO very well may be doing or start doing the same thing, and they could get caught up in that regard.
And one other thing I can really think of that is going to trip people up is going to be their specimens, especially with them cracking down on specimens and use of specimens and data first use in commerce. All of those things and those specimens and those reviews, that's another way in which our legal opinion kind of comes into play more often than not. And if you're not speaking with an attorney and you're doing it through, a trademark mill or a trademark processor, and I mean, at best, you have a paralegal that maybe have experience in the past doing it, those specimens can really, it's something else the USPTO started cracking down on.
Yes, because AI has become very good, as we all know, at creating images that look very real. It's being used all over the internet in all different kind of aspects in movies, with celebrities, faking photos, faking voices, all sorts of things. So it's getting very good at that. It's not a surprise that it would be good at faking a simple photo of a product on a shelf with a brand name on it.
Right.
And we definitely see a lot of those that look very, very real. But the USPTO examiners, we presume have been trained. We've definitely heard that they've been trained extensively on identifying these fakes and rejecting them as specimens. So that's another way that you can incur those additional fees for insufficient information for having fake AI generated specimens.
You spent 9 to 12 months building your business, working on your brand, buying goods, selling goods, your website, your marketing, and putting this name out there, to have it rejected for something that maybe could have been seen in the front end, I really would think that would be a big discouragement from making sure that you're using a lawyer and making sure that you're not just going through someone else's process and systems.
There's a lot of times with companies like that these different industries with these kind of mills, as you like to call them, they're going to make their website look official, right? They're going to make it look like it's a legal website. What kind of tips would you have for anyone listening to kind of spot just a mill that's not going to give them real legal advice?
Make sure you're talking to a person. Don't just fill something out online, put all your data online. I mean, just the cybersecurity idea of just putting all of your data right there without ever actually speaking with someone. Making sure, like Holly said, the first important question is making sure you're actually speaking with an attorney, that there is an attorney that you can talk to, that you're not just talking to their customer service or their intake rep or however it may be, that you have a chance to speak with the attorney. And that attorney is helping you go through the process, give you their legal opinion, give you their analysis, and they're walking you through the process of working directly with that attorney. There's a lot of great websites out there, but I don't know, that would scare me to have to just, hey, let's fill out this form right online and type in all my data right now. Yep. And I think that would be the best tip. Talk to someone.
Holly, anything to add? What on your side? Is there anything like that you've spotted on some of these sites where you're like, whoa, no, that's not good?
No, I can't say that I've come across anything else specific. No.
Okay.
Not having a phone number. You want to make sure they have a phone number. There's a way to get in touch with somebody. If it's just an online thing, I mean, what if you're sending that information to India or China or overseas somewhere, that they're going to then use your data for something maybe you don't want to use your data for? Yep. So, I mean, going back to our, coming up, I think our next episode talks about cybersecurity and what you should make sure you have in place. Yeah, kind of don't fill out something you're not quite sure what you're filling out. And I think the big takeaway from this is that not only does the USPTO have a lawyer, you should have a lawyer that's representing you, but it also is that in the long run, it may be more expensive to hire a lawyer up front, but in the long run, less stress, maybe a bit more protection. Hiring a lawyer might be the way to go.
Agree.
I can't guarantee you an outcome. I can't, I always used to say I'm not a used car salesman. I can't guarantee you something, but it definitely helps along the way.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's something that we've learned across these episodes thus far. Well, thank you very much for joining us on Securing Your Brand with attorneys Holly McFall and Melissa Jeda from SecureMark Legal. To connect with Holly or Melissa, you can check out securemarklegal.com, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review in the comments. Melissa, Holly, always great to chat with you guys. Thanks so much for being here.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.